everyone, and welcome back to Liz Sews. I have a much requested video today, and that is how to turn a bra pattern into a swimsuit. Now, a lot of us have worked really hard to get a bra pattern that fits us perfectly. We have a bra pattern that makes us feel confident and pretty, and so why not use that to turn it into a swimsuit, which at times can be one of our most vulnerable pieces of clothing. So the pattern that I'm going to be turning into a swimsuit today, of course, is the Emerald Erin Black Beauty Bra. That is my tried and true pattern and the one that fits me the best. But a lot of the techniques that I'm going to show you can definitely be used to convert other bra patterns into swimsuits. Now, this is intended to be sort of supplemental to your bra making knowledge. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the actual nitty-gritty of bra construction. I'm hoping you guys know that already, but rather focusing on the important key elements that make a swimsuit different from a bra. Primarily how we finish the edges, the elastics that we use, as well as the closures in the back and the straps. So let's dive into it. So in looking at this swim top, we can see that the outside of this is completely constructed out of our fashion or swim fabric. And the real differences come when you start looking at the inside of this. So for the inside of the swim top, I've used cut and sew foam in the cups. I've used sheer cup lining in the bridge and outer cradle here, and then I've lined the back of this with power net. These are all materials that are used in normal bra making, and bra making materials tend to be polyester and nylon, which coincidentally are the same things that swim material is made out of. So these should still hold up in water. I am going to be using the plush channeling in here for my underwires and the same underwires that I use in my normal bras. So let's take a look at the pattern pieces and see where we need to start deviating. First, I want to look at the cradle, the bridge, and the back band. So along the bottom of my swim top here, what I've done is some rubber swimwear elastic that is applied to the inside and then folded over once again so that it's completely covered with material, so you don't see any of the rubber elastic. So in order to do that finish, what we need to do on our pattern pieces is to make sure that the bottom seam allowance is the same as our elastic that we want to use. So the elastic comes in a variety of widths. I would recommend using an all rubber swimwear elastic just because I think it holds up a little bit longer. So this one here comes from the Bra Makery and is 3/8 of an inch. Let's see, I have another example here. This one comes from, I think this might come from the Emerald Erin shop or TaylorMade, I can't remember. It's a little bit textured, a little bit easier to work with. This one is, I think, just short of 3/8 of an inch, but it's not 1/4 of an inch yet. And then this one is one that I purchased off of Amazon, very similar to the one from Bra Makery, except that it's a little bit stretchier, and this one is 1/4 of an inch rubber swimwear elastic. So whatever width your swimwear elastic is, you want to make sure that that is the seam allowance on the bottom of your bridge, your outer cradle, as well as your back band piece. Other than that, I think we can put these aside. They don't need to be altered other than changing that length. I'm going to keep this one out for later because that one has some additional alterations to it. And then next up, we want to look at the cups. So for my cups right here, the Black Beauty bra already is designed so that it doesn't have any seam allowances along the top, and that's what I want to continue to use. So I do like to cover the top edge of my cup here in a binding. So this is very similar to fold over elastic, but that it's made out of the same material as the actual swim top itself. And in order to have this edge finish, what we need is 0 seam allowances. So if you have any seam allowances along the top of the cup, go ahead and remove them. If you don't have any seam allowances, then don't worry about it. And see, what else do we have here? So the cup pieces that I have for Black Beauty View B, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to use them with no alterations because this was the only section that I was worried about looking at. same goes for the foam. So the Black Beauty pattern includes foam already in it. I would definitely recommend using foam in your swim top because when you get wet, you want to have that little bit of extra coverage that the foam provides so that nothing is showing that you don't want to be seen. If your pattern does not come with a foam piece, it's very, very simple to make it. So when you are making your foam pieces, all you want to do is do an exact replica of the one that you are currently using, and you want to remove any seam allowance that isn't on the wire line. So of course the wire line is up here, so I want to save my seam allowance there, and on the bottom piece here, the wire line is around here, so I want to save my seam allowance there, but I removed all of the seam allowances from these interior seams here and here. Because when we make foam, instead of sewing it together like a traditional seam, those two sides are going to be butted up. So that's why we're removing all of those seam allowances. And we're going to butt up and then just move along the edge here and continue to butt this up as we sew along. I do have a video for working with foam, and I will put it up in the iCards here if you guys need a little bit more information about working with foam. So for me, I'm not going to make any additional changes to my Black Beauty pattern. I'm going to use it as is because my top edges, I already have foam, I already have fabric, and my top edges don't have any seam allowances. Also, I'm going to be adding a power bar into mine. Black Beauty does include a version of the power bar that's supposed to be covered in fold over elastic, so I'm going to go ahead and use that in my swim top. And I'm going to bind the edge of my power bar, just like we're going to bind the upper edge of the cut pieces here. So basically what I want is no seam allowance. The biggest alteration to my pattern is going to come in the back band piece here. This is not the back band piece that's included in the Black Beauty pattern. I've changed it into a U-back just because that's my preference. But for my swim top, I find that I definitely do want to go back to that T-strap attachment. I think it's a little bit more comfortable. So just like we did with the front, I need to reduce the seam allowance here on the bottom of the cup. I want to make it the same width as my elastic. And after I have taken off the seam allowance on the bottom, what I'm going to do is sort of scoop this down into a T-back attachment. So the closure that I want to use with my bra or my swim top is 1 inch high. And so when I get to this point, I need it to be the width of my elastic. Let's see. Need it to be the width of my elastic plus the height of my closure. So that's how tall it should be once I get to this end of my back band piece. So I'm just going to take a ruler, nice curved ruler, and draw a line that sort of connects this corner up here all the way down to my closure at the bottom. And then I'm also going to add myself an extra inch of fabric onto the center back of this. And the reason that we're adding an extra inch of fabric is so that we can fold it in and around itself here to attach that closure. So I don't want to be removing an inch from my back band piece. That's why I'm adding an inch so that I'm giving myself all of this extra fabric that allows me to fold it back and get a nice even sewn line. So here's what my back band piece is going to look for my swimsuit. So you can see here, if I overlay these on top of each other, I do have, in fact, I have shortened the seam allowance here so that it's working with my bra or with my swim elastic. So I've shortened the seam allowance here. I've maintained my side seam length. I want to keep that the same. And then I've just sort of swooped down to this section here. And when I double check it and I see that it is the height of my closure as well as my elastic and everything looks like it's okay. So once I have that height determined, then I extend out my extra inch. I don't really care if it gets smaller back here. What I really want to be concerned with is the height at the full extension of the back band where we want it to eventually close. So all of this extra 1 inch fabric will, fold in around itself like this. So this distance is what I'm concerned about right here. So that is my back band piece. Not that you necessarily need to see these, but I can show them to you anyway. This was the cradle that I started with 3/4 of an inch. I've reduced it now to be 1/2 of an inch. As you can see the difference, everything else is kept the same. I've just sort of reduced that elastic on the bottom to match the width of my swimwear elastic. And I've done that for this piece as well as the bridge. So now that the patterns are all done, we can go ahead and talk about fabric. So the main fabric that I will be using is the swimwear fabric that I got from the TaylorMade shop. So it's sold as swimwear fabric. It has really nice, fun, bright colors, a lot of great recovery, and it feels really, really nice. I'm also going to supplement this a little bit with some more fabric. Again, this also came from the TaylorMade shop. This came in sort of a swimwear activewear grab bag, mystery bag bundle. And it is labeled as being polyester spandex sports lycra. Polyester spandex should still work in chlorine. Those are both materials that are going to be found in swimwear fabric, so I think it should be okay. But this is going to be sort of an accent piece to sort of help pick up some of those brighter pinks that we see in the main fabric. I'm going to be using this as my binding along some of the bra. So that's the exterior of the bra. And when we look at the interior of the bra, just like I had shown you earlier, I'm going to be using just typical bra fabric. So I have sheer cup lining here. This one is in the colorway, I think this is Courageous from Bra Builders. It's their standard pink colorway. Nylon sheer cup lining, so that's going to go along my bridge and cradle. I also have Power Net. This one is also a nylon power net that I purchased from Bra Builders, and I want to say this is the Caribbean colorway. You could do boring basic plain white on the inside. I just thought it would be fun to sort of pick up these different colors that I'm seeing in the fabric itself here. And these are things that I had just floating around in my stash left over from other bras. So it's nice to give them new life, give them another place to be used. And I think it just would look nice to have all of those fun colors. So the last material that I will be using is in the cups, or lining the cups, and that is cut and sew foam. Obviously this one came from Bra Maker's Supply. This one I got on sale because it does have some flaws in it, but I think it should be fine. And I think that blue color still goes pretty well with my swim fabric. So that is all the fabrics that I will be using for this project. Obviously I'll be using this clasp as well. I really do like these metal clasps. I think they add a nice touch of professionality to swimwear, but you could also use a large G-hook as well. We'll be using a swimwear elastic. I'm probably going to just be using the one from Bra Makery. Swimwear elastic tends to be all pretty similar. I would just, be on the lookout for an all rubber one. I don't particularly like one that has fabric wrapped around the elastic strings. I think this one holds up a little bit better. And then the last bit of hardware that I'm going to be using on my bra is some sliders. So I have a set of rings and sliders from the TaylorMade shop, and I'm just going to be using the sliders out of it at 3/4 of an inch sliders. So if I show this original Black Beauty bra here, you can see that I'm doing a double strap on here, and so I think having the nice wide slider makes it a great attachment point for the two straps. I like having the straps side by side versus overlapped on top of each other. I think it just looks a little bit nicer, so that's why I will be using the slider here. The rings are going to be left over. I do have a project that I'm thinking about doing down the road utilizing just these rings, so I won't let them go to waste. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out all of my materials and come back with you. Okay, so here we have all of the fabrics cut out. So for my cut pieces, I have my upper cup and my lower cup cut out of both the fashion fabric as well as my cut and sew foam. So I've got that. I've also cut out my power bars out of the fashion fabric. And once I looked at these, yes, I decided that this was very, very, very busy. So what I've decided to do is take this sort of pink fabric, so this will be my binding, and I'm going to bind the edge of my power bars in that to sort of break it up. I'm also planning on using this pink edging along the top of the cup as well. So I think that will help to break up the design a little bit and keep it from looking overly busy. So that's all of the cut pieces here. We also have the bridge cut out of fashion fabric and sheer cup lining. So the bridge and our two side cradle pieces cut out of fashion fabric and sheer cup lining. Now, because your fashion fabric is stretchy and your sheer cup lining is stable, if you want, you can cut just maybe a scant 1/8 of an inch off of your fashion fabric because it's stretchier than what's going to be underneath it. Honestly, I don't bother with that kind of finicky pattern cutting. You might get some stretch lines on here, but I don't think it should be too bad. And because there is a high content of spandex in the swimwear fabric, you're not really likely to see bagging on this. So here's all the front portions of the frame and cradle. And then on the back band, I've cut them out of power net and my fashion fabric. Now, once I cut them out, I did cut my power net just a little bit shorter on both sides. And the reason that I've done that is I know that this is going to be doubled back on itself, and I wanted to make sure that I was reducing some of that bulk. So I wasn't terribly accurate about it, maybe 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch to just cut off, just to remove some of that bulk when we finish putting together our bra. So these are our back band pieces, and of course I have all of my binding as I talked about. So I'm planning on doing the binding along the upper edge of my band, my power bar, and the upper edge of my cup, as well as my straps. So I've cut fashion fabric for all of that. I can't really give you an exact amount because it really depends on your body. So I would just sort of hold up a fabric tape measure to you and figure out about how much you need, and then overcut by a little bit. So this is 1¼ inch wide. That seemed like it would be more than enough for me. For the straps, what you really want to make sure is that it's at least 3 times the width of your elastic for the straps, because it's going to go around there 3 times. Obviously this is inside out, but you get the idea. So the minimum width of this should be 3x whatever you want to use as your elastic in there, the width of your elastic. So I've got bindings cut out in fashion fabric, as well as that fun pink fabric for my little accent pieces. So that is all of the fabric cut out. We can start assembling the swim top, and this assembly is going to be just like any other bra. So I'm gonna put stuff together without showing you every single step in detail in it, because it's just like putting together a bra, and I'll go ahead and turn the camera back on when I'm sort of deviating. So ideally when I'm starting to work with these bindings or elastics, I'll show you how that goes. That concludes day 1 of the swim tutorial. This is going to be coming in 3 installments, so be sure to check back next month as we start putting things together. I'll see you next time. Take care.